citizenship, well, you're either a British citizen or you're not. I mean, what is this tier system? Would you support that, or would you think that it is just a waste of time?
Well, I think there's a danger that the current government has simply been window dressing rather than managing the system properly. But what I'm in favour of is a tightly controlled immigration system which looks at every application properly, which manages them effectively, and which is fair. Because what happens right now is that there are very many people who seek to abuse the system. And at the same time, those people who are genuinely seeking to use the system for legitimate reasons end up being caught up in lengthy processes, end up having their applications not properly considered, because the water is being muddied by so many people who are not using the system properly. What I want to create is an immigration system that is transparent, that is firm, that is fair, where people know where they stand, and I don't think we have that at the moment. And I think the same should apply to citizenship. I think if you come and build a life in this country, the door should be open to eventually become a British citizen, and you should know how that will happen and when it might happen, so it's something to aspire to if you stay for a long period of time.
So the critics say that the policies have been in favor of those who tend to be abusing the system, and sort of stacked up against those who are the genuine immigrants. Now, asylum and other people, of course, there are genuine people who will come and really be fleeing persecution, but there are many who are not, and just, you know, what you may call convenience asylum seekers. But the system seems to be supporting that, rather than supporting those who are genuine. What would the Conservative Party do to change this?
It's about having tight rules and enforcing them properly, and that simply has not happened for the past 10 years. I mean, if you look at the student visa system, for example, the truth is that we have an excellent education sector that attracts students from around the world to our universities, to our colleges, to some of our specialist educational institutions. That's something we value, something we want to continue, and we want it to be as easy as possible for people to come from different parts of the world, from Pakistan and other countries, to study in the UK. Equally, there's been an industry that has been using the student visa system as a way of getting people into the UK to build lives here with no intention of coming here and studying. We've had a vast number of bogus institutions that have been there to create a semblance that somebody is coming to the UK to study, and then in the end they haven't studied, they've simply stayed here and built a life here. And what that means is that for legitimate students, the whole system becomes more difficult and more challenging. I think we've got to be absolutely rigid on that. By all means, come and study in the UK, come for your 3 years. At the end of your 3 years, you go back to your home country. If there is a good reason for you to apply to stay in the UK, fine, you should do so in good time through the proper processes, and we should treat you entirely fairly. But what we shouldn't tolerate is a system where people are able to come to the UK for a nominal 3-year period to an institution that is not a proper institution and just use that as a way of getting into the country. So what that does is it creates problems for genuine students who want to come to the UK and who we want to come to the UK.
Now, coming to the Conservative Party and your leader, Mr. David Cameron, very charismatic, enigmatic to start with, but obviously some people say that it's not really the Conservative Party that is gaining popularity, but it's Labour is losing popularity and you are sort of being benefited. You need to be more aggressive in terms of reaching out to the communities, and there is a perception still that exists about the inexperience of the Conservative Party and even your leader. How would you address that, or how would you respond to that?
Well, the inexperience issue is always going to be something that is levelled at a party that's been out of power for a length of time. And we counterbalance that by making sure that we use the expertise of senior people in our party who've been in government before, who understand the workings of government. And one of the things that David Cameron did after he became leader was to involve some of our elder statesmen in policy making so that we did learn lessons from the past. And I think that the truth is that when there is a potential change of government, it will always be as a result of a government and administration that's losing its way. There is a saying in this country that oppositions don't win elections, governments lose them. And so there is truth in that. But at the same time, an opposition can only win an election if it's electable. And we saw in this country in 1992, when the Conservative Party was probably expected to lose the general election, but won because the opposition Labour Party failed to demonstrate to the nation that it was electable.
Danger of this happening this time round?
Well, I think we have to make sure it doesn't. I think David Cameron has already changed the image of the Conservative Party massively, created a sense that we're a more diverse party, a more relevant party, that we are listening to the needs and...
Some safe seats from Pakistani or in...
I think we will actively seek to promote good candidates from all backgrounds, and we will take. I mean, I know as a start one candidate who I very much hope will get a safe seat. We've got already people who have from different minority backgrounds, from the Muslim community.
Or in the House of Lords, Labour has just one baroness that you have just recently appointed, who is member of your cabinet. So I think you need to reach out.
Oh, absolutely. And what we need to do is to encourage more and more people to come forward from minority communities to join the Conservative Party, to be involved. But if you look at the candidates that have been selected for our winnable seats, you will find people from Asian backgrounds, you'll find people from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, you'll find a much larger number of women.
Ethnic minorities, perhaps the most high profile, or perhaps the ones that are always in the news, is the Muslim community in Britain. And among the Muslim community, the most politically mobile happens to be the Pakistani community. It's apparent in your parliament. You see 4 of them. They are the Pakistanis, they're Muslims. Same in the House of Lords. So you need to reach out to that, and that is what the people expect of you. And do you think, what clearly can you tell us?
Well, the most senior Muslim in British politics today is in the Conservative shadow cabinet, Baroness Varsi.
She's in the shadow cabinet. We've got a minister in.
Okay, but that's because we're in opposition. Sadiq Khan is not a cabinet minister. He is still only a deputy at the transport department. Right. But no, he has achieved, in the context of somebody coming from his ethnic background, he is somebody who has achieved and helped a political breakthrough. I think we would want to see people from the Pakistani community, from the Muslim community as a whole, reaching senior positions in all political parties. It's not something where I would say I want everyone to be Conservative or everyone should be Labour. The truth is that what we want to see is people from the Pakistani community, people from the Muslim community engaged in politics with different views, different ideas about how to improve the country. There are people who will come with conservative views and conservative values. There are people who will disagree with us, like Sadiq Khan, who will be in the Labour Party. What we seek is engagement, and what David Cameron has sought to do and has begun to build in a way that hasn't happened in the past, engagement from the groups that have not previously been active in the Conservative Party. And you'll find, if you look down the list of candidates in marginal seats, you'll find people from the Muslim community, you'll find people from all different backgrounds across the country in a way that hasn't been the case in the past.
Viewers, आज हमारी जो गुफ्तगू थी वो एक मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बरतानिया से थी. ये शैडो होम सेक्रेटरी हैं. हमारा, जैसे कि आप जानते हैं कि बरतानिया में हुकूमत के साथ साथ एक शैडो हुकूमत भी होती है, और शैडो हुकूमत में जो होम मिनिस्टर का ओहदा है वो क्रिस ग्रेलिंग एमपी के पास है. इनसे हमारी आज गुफ्तगू हुई. उम्मीद ये की जा रही है यहाँ बरतानिया में कि नेक्स्ट जो आने वाले इलेक्शंस होंगे, इसमें ये काफ़ी कभी इम्कानात हैं कि कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी हुकूमत बनाए, और अगर कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी हुकूमत बनाती है तो क्रिस ग्रेलिंग जो है वो होम मिनिस्टर होंगे इस मुल्क के. हमने चाहा कि उनसे बात करें. उन्होंने ये कहा कि वो पाकिस्तान और बरतानिया के दरमियान बेहतर रिलेशंस उस्तवार करने में अपना रोल अदा करेंगे, खुसूसन जो यहाँ पे रहने वाले बरतानवी और पाकिस्तानी शहरी हैं, उनके साथ वो अपनी पार्टी की जो रीचिंग आउट कैंपेन है उसको मजीद फ़ाल बनाएंगे. Just translating for my viewers, but thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Grilling. We look forward to speaking to you again and seeing you through towards the elections and see what happens, and maybe we'll interview you when you are the minister.
Thank you.
This brings me to the end of our program. If you would like to say anything or give us your feedback or comments, you can always email us on insight@arynews.tv. Until next time, it's me, Javed Malik, saying Allah Hafiz.